All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Aligned, Liberated, and Abundant. I am Dr. Latoya Davis, and today we have a special guest, Shonda Smith, who is the founder of The Queen and Me. But before we dive into her and all of the goodness that she is going to share with us today, just wanted to make sure you're in the right place. So, Aligned, Liberated, and Abundant is your place if you consider yourself to be a high achieving woman who has done all of the things. You've gotten the degrees, you earned the money, you got the titles, corner office, the children, the marriage, whatever it is, you've done it. But you still feel like there is more. You recognize that there is something missing, and most times that is something from deep within. This is where we get to talk about all of those things and explore how to bring alignment, liberation, and abundance into our daily practice. So I am going to just read a portion of Shonda's bio before I kick it over to her so that she can give you the real life introduction of herself. All right. So Shonda Smith is originally from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and she spent years educating and motivating youth. She has an 18-year career as a licensed elementary school teacher in South Carolina and North Carolina. While managing multiple businesses, she pursues her passion to teach girls self love, self confidence, body protection practices, and other empowering life skills so they can overcome challenges and reach their highest potential. Y'all know I am team girls, right? Girl mom here. Train her up in the way she should go. As a mompreneur of five beautiful children, a pageant queen, and most importantly, a daughter of the Most High King, she knows firsthand the importance of this mission. She's the founder of The Queen and Me, established in 2016, in which her vision is to transform the lives of girls worldwide by equipping them with the intrinsic tools to recognize their royalty and pursue their dreams fearlessly. With her signature online courses, inspirational speaking, and queen like events, she empowers girls to reign while becoming the queen within. Thank you so much for joining us, Shonda. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Delighted to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. I know, we always have kind of the boilerplate template, and I know that sometimes we end up having to leave things out of that we really want people to know about us or we feel are kind of more forward facing. So is there anything that's kind of top of mind for you today that you feel you want the people to know?
Top of mind, I would just say one of the things that I love to share is that the importance of the healing journey, and I am on that. Will be on it the rest of my life. I love to share everything I've learned on this journey, and that's where my passion is to work with women, to work with young girls, towards healing, towards transformation, so that they can reach their highest potential. We'll get to more, I'm sure.
Yes, I love it. And so, you all know that the last few guests is that I have brought on have all been people that I've kind of had relationships with or long-standing histories with. I actually met Shonda through our lovely book here, right? So it's the Against All Odds. She is one of the co-authors in this book with Lisa Nichols, and her chapter From Trauma to Triumph really paints this picture, right? The book of Against All Odds was really about people overcoming, right? So it's this idea of we don't get to stay in the place. We might be there, but we don't have to stay there. And kind of how are we overcoming that? And so tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind your chapter. Yeah.
The inspiration behind my chapter, I would say about 8 years ago, I launched my girls empowerment organization. And I did that from really just this deep passion that I had to pour into the lives of young girls. And actually, my career, as you mentioned, 18 years as an elementary educator, I knew then, I knew as a young girl that I wanted to be a teacher. I knew that I wanted to help young girls feel the way I felt when I was in school. I felt safe. I felt like I could achieve anything. My teachers poured into me. I loved the agape type of love that I received from them. And but by the time I'd say about age 33, like you mentioned in your introduction, I knew that there was something missing in my life that was keeping me from reaching my highest potential. Prior, I excelled academically in everything. honor roll, junior beta club, national honor society, graduated in the 11th grade with a full ride scholarship. However, I reached a point in my life where I couldn't speak up for myself when I needed to in business, in my profession. I really struggled with depression and anxiety. And I'd say if I ever was graded on confidence, that's the area where I probably would have failed. And so for me, as you mentioned, the internal work, I really had to begin to focus inward um, in order to reach my highest potential. And so last year, I had the opportunity to write about my why, my big why I was so passionate about working with young girls all these years. And I shared my childhood story of traumatic events, a series, not just one, but a series of traumatic events that really changed the trajectory of my life. And prior to writing this book, no one ever knew my story. They just saw my passion. And at times we tend to make things look easy. We make it look easy when we achieve another degree,
Yes.
another licensure,
Yes.
when we're following our passion and walking in our purpose. Sometimes we can tend to make it look easy, but I really wanted to shed a light on the healing journey, the things that I've had to overcome, the things that I've learned in order to be the person that you see. It. So that was my inspiration behind writing that chapter.
Yes. And one of the things, the a marker of kind of that high achieving woman is we do make things look easy, right? It's, one of my adages used to be just show up, right? And so for me, that was like no matter what's going on, no matter what had happened before that, if I was supposed to be there at 3 and be on, at 3, I just needed to show up and be on, right? And literally that's what I would say. And so there was a point where like things would happen and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. And it's like you would not have known because I've conditioned myself to just show up, right? And I think so oftentimes, particularly when we're dealing with youth and girls, so there's this thing of societal conditioning that says, as a girl, you are to cater, to help, to be of service, right? To do all of the things. So there's that. Then there is typically whatever's going on in the home and the conditioning and the mixed messages and all of the stuff that you're feeling like that. And so, I mean, that you're receiving in that way. And so taking the moment to say, you know what, right now I'm not okay, right? What are some healing things that I can do? How can I continue to thrive and show up, but still take care of myself? So, in your journey, what are some of the tools and ideas that you have really leaned into with regards to the healing?
Well, I say number one, you mentioned it just now. I've gone through, especially the last 8 years, when I stopped teaching publicly and I launched my Girls Empowerment Organization. I knew that was directly from dreams that I've had, but it was also from the things that I suffered just wanting to serve in that way. For me, I'd say 10 years ago, the biggest step towards my healing journey was just being what I needed as a young girl that I didn't have. I learned that the more I served in my gift, which was teaching and still is, I have multiple gifts, but the more I used my gift of teaching, my gift of styling hair, helping women and girls in the beauty industry feel beautiful on the outside, the more I used those gifts, the more I felt fulfilled. So that was one of the things was to just use my gifts and to serve others in the way that I needed it. But as you mentioned, sometimes we just tend to show up, serve, serve. And I found myself serving from what felt like an empty cup. And about 10 years ago, I went through a situation and it completely triggered me. And at that point, I was an adult, 33 years old, um, teaching, loving my teaching career. In fact, I was nominated Teacher of the Year. I also had my salon business outside of teaching, so I was very um, satisfied with that, using my talents and making an extra income for my family. Married, children, house, all the things that you mentioned earlier. but I found myself triggered because of unresolved childhood trauma. And I had to pull back for the first time from achieving and accomplishing and serving and really just put the oxygen tank on myself for a while. That was about 8 months before I could even show up again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the same thing happened last year in 2023. I went through a personal situation that really just rocked me. I mean, pulled the foundation right from underneath me. I felt like I was shattered in a million pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest lesson I learned is that it is okay at times to pull back from serving others, to pull back from just showing up, even pulling back from social media. You're an entrepreneur. So when we don't show up, we lose business.
Yes.
I took a six-figure cut in business
Wow.
last year to put the oxygen tank on me because I was worth it.
Yeah.
And with that significant drop in business, still knew of the importance of investing in my mental health and well-being. So I still paid
Mm-hmm.
a significant, substantial amount for therapy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure I shared a lot, but just in summary, I'd say um, serving with your gifts and talent, putting the oxygen tank on yourself, serving yourself with love, therapy, anything that you need in order to show up, pulling back at times to fill yourself up so that you can be all you desire to be for others.
Yes, I love that the realization of I am worth it,
Hmm.
right? I think so often the reason we continue to pour from that empty cup is because we haven't realized that we are worthy of serving from a full cup,
Mm.
right? And I think that this show aligned, liberated, and abundant. For me, that liberation or this notion of liberation is tied to the feeling that I am worthy, right? Because I am worthy, I get to be free.
Mhm.
Because I am worthy, I don't have to compress myself or be small or to make other people feel comfortable. Like I get to show up 100% of the time how I am in the skin that I'm in whatever space or disposition I am, because I've given myself permission to love myself first
Yes.
above everybody else. And so I think, those steps that you gave were great. And particularly a lot of people, we shy away from therapy, right? But sometimes we need that. We need that reflection that is not coming from us, but it's the permission. Um,
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about. So I just gave my. What do they call? I led. If we were in court right now, we would just say I led the witness, right? Tell me a little bit around when you hear the word liberation, right? What comes up for you around that?
Mm. The biggest thing is peace of mind. As someone who knows firsthand the discomfort, the pain, and the agony that comes from anxiety, from worrying too much, not knowing how to release things totally, and from someone who knows firsthand what it's like to be on the other side of that, to be able to walk in liberation. To me, it absolutely means peace, peace of mind, peace in my heart. So that
Mhm,
means forgiving whoever I need to forgive,
mhm,
because that is the key to liberation as well. That's the key to peace.
mhm,
Forgiveness is what we do for ourselves. That's self love. It's not about um, taking the other person off the hook. It's about taking ourselves off the hook mentally and emotionally so that we can be liberated. So
yeah.
I could probably go on and on, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yes, no, I love that. I want to circle back again to you saying you had this thriving business and you were like, you know what, I'm in this space, things are happening. I need to kind of pull back for myself and I'm going to take this financial hit. And the
Mhm.
reason I want us to circle back to that again, because most of my audience are people who are solopreneurs, right? Or who have these really nice jobs, right? So finances generally aren't the struggle, but there is we run up to this point where it's like, wait a minute, something's wrong right now. But the fear of not wanting to let the finances um, be impacted to deal with the other aspect a lot of times keeps us kind of in the space. So what gave you that
Mhm.
courage, right? Or what was kind of like, you know what, no, this is more important, and what were those thoughts around, finances and how you're going to continue to bring that together?
Well, in transparency, I would say I didn't intend to take that much of a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't expect that to happen, but it did happen. But I also still knew that I was worth the attention and the time and the financial resources that I had to pull from savings to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the other thing it reminds me of is faith. Um, I I have learned, this might sound familiar to some people, I have learned the significance of being content when I have plenty and the significance of being content when there may not be um, as much. But
Mm-hmm.
notice I didn't say when there may not be enough,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because one of the things I've learned through faith is that all of my needs are going to be met. And during that, the year of the six-figure drop, and you know, getting back to the place where I can be front facing and market myself again, because I am my business.
Mm-hmm.
I am my product. So when I wasn't able to show my face and market myself and meet my clients and book those appointments and make those phone calls, there was a domino effect that happened for months and months and months after that. And I just saw business loss, loss, loss. But during that time, my needs were still being met. We were able to pay our bills, able to maintain food and basic necessities that we needed, and it was all taken care of. So I would say for me, it was exercising my faith, even though I was afraid, even though I was uncomfortable. I'm the type of person, I enjoy saving. I learned and enjoy the cushion of a savings account, but I also knew that my faith could not be, my security could not be in the numbers in my savings account.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in all of that collectively that gave me the courage, even though I was uncomfortable with not having the number I wanted to have. But I
Mm-hmm.
had enough. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have what I wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it was my faith that gave me the courage when I was afraid that, okay, when that number is gone, even when there's zero in the savings account, knowing that my needs are going to be provided for my family and for my children, for myself, it was that gave me courage, that gave me that peace of mind, so that I didn't fall apart. There's so many people, um, unfortunately, if they're security lies in their bank account, then when times change, which they can, it's sometimes not your fault. If financial times change, then that's sometimes that's what causes some people to go over the ledge, so to speak. Um, but I would just say, as an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur since 19. Over those 18 years, I was an elementary school teacher in the public school system. I still have my hair salon, barbershops, hair salons, but for the past 8 years, I've been 100% an entrepreneur. And so that business happened during
Mm-hmm.
full entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
So, absolutely, just having faith during those those times.
Yeah, I can relate in so many ways. My we're actually coming up on the 1 year. Is it, are they, do we call death's anniversary? I don't know, but the 1 year time frame of my dad dying, and I was his primary caregiver,
Mhm.
and We had in-home hospice care, so we lived here together. We had in-home hospice care. So that, and even just up until that point, right? So I would say 2023, like my ability to show up in the
Mhm.
business was definitely not like it had been. And similarly, because I want to operate in integrity, I felt that because of just where I was, it was not in my client's best interest for me to show up, right? Because I've released the obligation of having to show up, right, in my journey of healing and track of liberation. So because I've given myself permission to not have to do that anymore, to just get to honor wherever I am, I definitely took the financial hit, and
Mhm.
I am just now, I would say, honestly, I would say in the last few weeks, really just now starting to show back up. Me starting this podcast was really the like the kick in the butt,
Mhm.
right? It was like small, you can manage it and give it in doses, right? And then now I'm like, okay, the groove is back. I'm getting it, right? So
Congratulations
yeah,
too.
thank you. And all of that to say, everyone, there is nothing wrong with pausing. And I think, Shonda said, knowing that the things will be provided for, right? Will you have it at the same level? Maybe, maybe not. But knowing that the needs will be provided for, I think is really important. And you all hear me say all the time, faith and fear cannot live at the same time, right? Either you're faithful or you're fearful. And I think this is another one of those. It's like, y'all, I promise you, I don't send the guests cliff notes and be like, say this,
No,
right?
you did not give me one single clue what this conversation was going to be. I love it.
So it's like this consistency, right? It's the mindset, it's the belief, all of these things, and no matter where you find people at, I think that when you kind of continue to hear those nuggets in different ways, it says, wait a minute, maybe there's something in this. Let me try it, right? So we give you permission to try something new, right? Bring me to, how did you get into the pageant world?
Oh my goodness. Talk about trying something new. So I was minding my business, literally working in my salon. And one of my clients, lo and behold, after her fourth visit with me, she she had been paying attention to the way I operate my business at that time. And I also had a TV screen in my salon where I would actually show ads of my girls' empowerment events, workshops, courses, things that I would do in the community, speaking opportunities. And she said, my goodness, didn't you say you're a mom of five? I am biologically. And she said, and you have this salon, and how are you doing all those things? And I'm looking at the pictures, I see the videos. How are you doing this? And I told her, I think it's grace. Whenever you're walking in your passion, I won't say it's easy always, but you have the grace to do the things that you're supposed to be doing. If it's difficult, overwhelming, exhausting, it could be a combination of maybe the timing, or maybe you need to pour into self care, as we were talking about, and pause.
Mhm,
But when it's the right season, you have the grace to do exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And so I was able to juggle those things. And then she talked to me about the pageant.
mhm,
And she was actually a former a former crown holder, title holder at the pageant. And she said, I think you would be a wonderful candidate if you would consider the pageant. And I remember thinking, pageant? Do you think I'm not gonna juggle? I don't have the capacity. And the funny thing is, that as a young girl, I dreamed of pageants. I dreamed of becoming an ice figure. Anything girly, anything glitzy and glamorous, those were my dreams, but I wasn't able to really express it. Okay.
mhm,
And so I felt like, wow, this is full circle. At that time, I was almost 40. Okay. Almost 40, running my businesses, still teaching. and raising my children and was presented with the opportunity to be a part of the pageant. And it's the Miss America pageant competition. And they had a category for mompreneurs. So I would say if you're interested in pageant opportunities, it doesn't matter your age, and find pageants that have core values that are tied to your beliefs. For me, they were recognizing moms, women in business, entrepreneurship, corporate space, nonprofit, whatever segment of business, who are women of a certain age, also have children, and doing the best they can to serve the community. And I met all of those requirements, and I said, "Wow, that's nothing like some of the cattiness or pettiness that I may have thought."
Mm-hmm.
So I entered into that pageant the week of the deadline because I didn't know about it prior to that, and I won. And I couldn't believe it. And so now I incorporate that pageant experience in what I do with my growth empowerment. My growth empowerment was already called the Queen in Me 5 years before the pageant opportunity was presented. But after having that opportunity, I incorporated crowning girls next year
Mm-hmm.
um, in my organization as well.
Yes, and all of that is alignment. You know, when we talk about, you're like, nope, how can I do these things? You can do them because they are aligned with your passion, right? Part of your purpose. It is when we are like trying to make things fit in the box that they don't fit, when we start to be like, wait, I can't. But when we are in our passion, when we are in our purpose, I like to say the universe just opens up,
Yes.
right, for things to continue to fall into place. Um, so as we get ready to head out, you mentioned, you started talking about the Queen and Me, and your girls empowerment group. Can you give us just a little bit more information about, what you do, your goals with that? How are people able to get in touch with you?
Okay.
Yeah.
So currently, what I do, I teach an online girls empowerment course every Sunday and for an hour with young girls. It's a 5 week program to start off with. I call that the intensive. It's 5 consecutive weeks. After they graduate from that, they have the opportunity to roll into once a month club membership, which is still virtual. So thanks to COVID, before COVID, I did this all live workshops in my community. But now I get to reach girls in different states and countries. And so I teach that program. Then at the end of the year, our culminating event is the annual Empower Her crowning celebration, where not only do we recognize girls for their commitment to self development, self love, confidence building techniques, understanding their identity is not tied to social media and the things that they see in the world, learning to identify their gifts and talents and how to use them now as they vision plan for the future that they desire. So I teach all of those things in the program. At the end of the year, they're recognized for their commitment, and also we spotlight what their vision is for their future and anything that they've accomplished throughout the year. So they walk up what I call um, our pink carpet, and they're crowned, and this takes place in a wedding venue. And I think it's very fitting for a young girl to realize they're chosen long before marriage.
Hmm.
Okay, they are valuable long before waiting for the opportunity to say I do. So they get to walk up the same aisle that a bride would walk up and receive their crown as their commitment to choosing to love themselves first.
I love
Okay.
that.
And what I've learned is that not only is it inspiring and empowering to young girls, but I've learned that it's also very empowering to women. So I have the opportunity to speak at women's empowerment events because as women, we tend to use our degrees, our certifications, our businesses, and everything else. But sometimes we do have to take the time and go back and heal the little girl that's within us in order to become the person that we're striving for. And
Mhm.
so I love that opportunity to speak at events as well.
Yes. Where can people follow you, get in touch with you?
Okay. The website is thequeeninme.com. You can email me at info at thequeeninme.com. On social media, you'll find me at the Queen in Me Girl or at Shonda Reigns, Reigns.
And all of these will be in the show notes, will be in the description, so you can find it very easily. And part of my why, although I work with adults, right? Although my market is adults, part of my why absolutely revolves around young girl and empowerment, because I always say it's not enough for me to raise my daughters in a particular way if when they go out into the world they're still met with people who are holding up older antiquated ways of thinking, right? Because now they're trying to be their own best happy version of themselves, and everybody else is like, no, what's wrong with you?
Mm,
So for me, it's important that we continue to send the messaging out, particularly to young girls, that say you're worthy,
absolutely.
right? Your value isn't dependent and contingent upon A, B, C, and D, right? You don't have to relive the traumas of your parents or your grandparents, right? You get to make your own new choices. So I absolutely love the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I thank you for the work that you're doing. And community, if you have young children, young girls, please, please, please reach out to her, reach out with the organization, maybe different ways that you can support,
Mhm.
and just finding out how you can support, that would be great. So we're going to say something.
No, I was going to say absolutely. Our event is coming up December 15th. It's a Sunday at 3 o'clock near Raleigh, North Carolina, and we welcome women and girls from every state. And then ways to help us support this event. There are some sponsorship, donors, donations, and then also scholarship opportunities presented on our website as well.
Perfect. All right. So thank you all for joining us today. Remember to like, subscribe, share, do whatever the things, depending on the platform that you are either watching us on or listening to us to. I really appreciate it. And remember, you deserve to live a life that lights you up from the inside out. And I am happy to help you along that journey. So until next time, stay aligned, liberated, and abundant. Peace.